Hola, it's me, Gabriela. In today's episode, I'll talk about the duality between learning like adults versus learning like children, with examples to help improve your Spanish conversation skills. Have you ever heard about learning Spanish like a child? Or maybe you've caught yourself thinking, if I were a child and fully immersed, I'd learn faster, better, easier. I know many of you have had these thoughts at least once during your learning journey. But what does it really mean to learn like a child? Aside from the typical neuroplasticity of early ages and the fearless approach before school starts, don't get me wrong, but schools often set us up with the idea that we are going to struggle and need to follow a standard learning style to succeed. But that's a whole other story. Back to the point. Neurotypical children learn by imitation and repetition, not by repeating the same thing over and over, but by trying many times and gaining experience. They spend a great deal of their time just learning, and most importantly, they are driven by a strong desire to succeed and achieve their goals. For us adults, learning Spanish like children requires an extra layer of effort. First, because we're not children, we need to remind ourselves how children think and behave to replicate that in our learning process. When it comes to speaking Spanish, are you willing to talk like a child, to learn like a child? Let's see in this video how I coach one of my students in my conversation program to do just that. Alright, so I will put you a bit in context about what's happening here. I'm with my student talking about his life. I made him like a personal question in order to build up a bit of rapport in between us. And what's happening is like he has these ideas in English that he's not feeling capable of putting into Spanish coherent sentences. So let's see what happens in this interaction and the way that I coach him to make this situation a bit more easygoing or smooth for him. Okay, so I'm gonna play this video and let's see what's happening.
Sí, el pasado siempre es difícil para mí.
Para todas las personas, el pasado es un fantasma.
Sí, sí, por no razón. Es terrible. Ay. Okay.
Ajá, vamos que sí puedes.
Okay. Intentaré.
Por favor.
Entonces,
Ajá.
sí. Okay, so, cada noche, cuando estaba un niño,
Ajá.
y se acerca de tiempo para dormir, mi papá yo sé quiero decir en inglés.
Me imagino.
Quiero decir.
Ahora, vamos a hacer un ejercicio. Reset.
Sí. Okay.
Voy a decir esto en inglés. So, you know what you want to say in English. That's good. That's the first step. Knowing what you want to say in English.
Sí.
Now, we are going to do an exercise of simplification. We need to simplify our ideas in our first language in order to get the message across. So, imagine that I don't speak any English. So, keep in your mind that thought and try to make it as digestible as possible for someone that doesn't speak English. And tell me in English what you want to say. So, go ahead.
No, ¿en inglés o en español?
En inglés.
En inglés. Okay. Quiero decir that my dad would make me dance before bed. Just the thought.
Ajá. Now, imagine that I don't know that tense would make me, it's a really complicated tense for someone that doesn't speak English. So now pick that sentence and try to break it down even into a better sentence for someone that doesn't know any English. So get the message across.
Okay.
It's not only him, it is super hard to like break down the sentence or the ideas that we have in our first language, because when we build up our ideas in our first language, we're not thinking about words, grammar rules, or anything. We're just doing it naturally. So doing the exercise of how am I going to get this message across with someone that doesn't speak the language, it is a big deal. But let's see how he does it.
I guess it's simple. I just say like I would dance before bed. As a
Okay,
Right.
I'm gonna do it simpler than that.
okay.
My dad tell me I
Okay.
dance before bed. It sounds like I'm going out of from a cave and speaking like in broken English. But if someone in the other side doesn't know any English, tell me it is easier than showing the tense.
Right.
And dance before bed, it is way simpler. So coming from that sentence, do you think that you can get that message across in Spanish? This is a real challenge, guys, because it's like we build up these ideas in English and they are way complex than the tools that we have in the second language at this point in our learning process. So what is the idea? That if we break down a bit our idea of how to communicate and we really commit with the task of getting the message across, I can assure you that you are gonna find the words in Spanish to say whatever you want to say. Yeah, and that's what is gonna happen now. Let's see how it happens.
Entonces mi papá me dijo, me
Sí,
dijo
sí, sí.
Bailar antes, no sé la palabra para bedtime.
Dormir.
Dormir, solamente dormir. Okay. Mi papá me dijo bailar antes dormir. Okay.
Very good. So sometimes it's not that we don't have the words. It's like we are thinking in our first language, and of course, what we want to say.
Right.
It is way more complex than the tools that we have in the moment. Yeah. So my point is, we hear a lot about learning like a child, doing this like a child, because children learn faster or better or easier. But are we really ready to commit to speak like a child? So now I'm gonna show you another video where a 2-year-old boy is speaking, and let's see how he does it. Okay, so let's see how he does it. Yeah, let's see how he builds up his sentences. If he use I would have done this, or if he just go with his message straightforward.
Por favor.
¿Qué, amor? ¿Qué quieres?
Una galleta gigante. Por favor.
¿De qué sabor quieres tu galleta gigante?
De chocolate.
¿De chocolate? ¿Y cómo te la vas a comer?
He's even using his body language and noises and everything to just express how much he wants to eat this cookie. But let's slow it down just a bit like this maybe, and I want to hear from the beginning. 1 second here, let's see.
¿Qué quieres?
Una galleta gigante, por favor.
Una galleta gigante. Super simple. 3 words. He doesn't say, I would love to get a cookie from you, please, lady. No. Una galleta gigante. 1 big cookie. Learning like a child implies that we need to sacrifice our ego a bit and the way that we perceive ourselves in our first language, and go through the experience of just speaking as it comes and try to break that fear that creates the barrier and really getting into talking. So yeah, let's go back to the other video and I will continue there. I know it looks hard, but it's not so bad. We have so many advantages over children when it comes to learning. And one of the most interesting is our ability to reflect on our own learning process. This isn't just great, it opens up new learning paths constantly. Sometimes we wish to learn Spanish like children, but we want to speak like intellectual adults and show off all our verbal skills from our first language. Give up. Give up. Let go of that persona and embrace the new you in Spanish, a language you're still learning. Prioritize getting your message across over sounding grammatically perfect or worse, trying to sound like you do in your first language. My advice, build up your Spanish persona from scratch like a child, using the tools you have. Break down your ideas in your first language until you find the right words in Spanish. I did it with English and it brought me here, not that far. I spent and waste many conversation opportunities in English because I wanted to sound as smart as I feel in Spanish or as funny as I think I am in Spanish, waiting hours to fit in a word like oblivion. Funny word, but I never got to use it in a conversation. So that's it for today, guys. See you next time, and don't forget to interact with the algorithm to boost my videos a bit more. I really appreciate it. And last but not least, if you want to know more about my program, book a free assessment. Ciao!